Hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau truly has a pathological need to virtue signal all the time. I'm convinced it would be worse for Trudeau's health to go a week without virtue signaling than going a week without food and water. That's how much he seems to need to virtue signal all the time. Canada is currently in a contentious situation with President elect Donald Trump, who has threatened to put a 25% tariff on us if we don't tighten up border security with the US. I think that we're going to be able to avoid this 25% tariff because I don't think Trump truly wants to levy it on Canada. I think he just wants us to tighten up on border security and he wants to be seen as having pushed us to do it rather than just asking us to do it. And overall, Justin Trudeau has said the right things about working with the premiers to put more security on the border. That's good. But for some reason, unbeknownst to me, Justin Trudeau, at this feminist gala put on by Equal Voice, decided to say that it was an attack on women's progress that Vice President Kamala Harris didn't beat Donald Trump in the 2024 presidential election. This is insane. He is putting Canadian jobs at risk. Donald Trump already doesn't like him because Trudeau has needled him in the past and he compares Polyev and the conservatives to Trump in a bad way. And for some reason, walking this tightrope, Justin Trudeau decided to say this.
No, it shouldn't be that way. It wasn't supposed to be that way. We were supposed to be on a steady, if difficult sometimes, march towards progress. And yet, just a few weeks ago, the United States voted for a second time to not elect its first woman president. Everywhere, women's rights and women's progress is under attack, overtly and subtly. But I want you to know that I am, and always will be, a proud feminist. You will always have an ally in me and in my government.
Or at least for another 10 months when he's no longer the prime minister. But my goodness, why would you say that? Again, Trump already doesn't like this guy, and you're now going to simp for Kamala Harris a month after she's lost the presidential race. For what reason? To show how much of a feminist you are? Dude, shut up. What is wrong with you? You shouldn't even be commenting on US politics. You guys shouldn't have been calling the conservatives maple MAGA and far right for the last couple of years. But I guess we can't fix that. But Justin Trudeau should at least be able to hold his tongue at an event now under the pressure he is under. But again, the man needs to virtue signal constantly. There also, I always hate this stupid rhetoric that we got to march forward towards progress. And progress is always defined as being woke, as being feminist, as being socialist, wanting the government to control more things. How is it not progress to be more individualistic, to let people make their own choices, to not constantly be pushing social messages all the time and letting people live their lives? So Trudeau is going to put Canada's trade with the US under threat just because he wanted to make a asinine comment at an organization's event that he wants the support of, in which I assume Equal Voice already generally likes him. I know there's conservative people, conservative women who work with Equal Voice, but who cares? And even then, guys, can we stop it with the identity politics around gender? Not only just in the gender theory angle, which I think most people are done with, but guys, why do we need organizations whose only goal is to get more women in office? How about let's have better people in office in general? Many of them could be women. Obviously, just as many of them could be men. I find organizations like this annoying. And I know some people in Equal Voice who would disagree with me. We can have a good debate on that someday. But guys, at this time in our country's current economic crisis, immigration crisis, crime spike, can we focus on just having people who are going to get into office to cut spending, crack down on crime, reduce immigration? Can we just try and do that first? I want to show you another clip from this event because Jagmeet Singh was also there, and he made this weird comment about white men that I think, again, shows why nobody likes the NDP. We've seen why people don't like we've seen why people do not like the Liberals. So now let's see why people don't like the NDP.
I am now doubly committed to Equal Voice. I'm doubly committed to Equal Voice. I'm a proud father of 2 daughters. And one of those, thank you. And the second daughter that we were waiting for is here with me tonight. So if you hear some cries, I think she's just waiting for me to get back to her. So I got to say, I have seen, if I can be really blunt, I've seen a lot of older white men fail upwards again and again. And
You're saying this to an event that explicitly just wants more women in office. I know equal voice may have not been around in 1993, but equal voice is how you get things like Prime Minister Kim Campbell. You get a woman who didn't deserve to be prime minister becoming prime minister because there was a social movement in the early 90s that just said more women in office, more women in leadership positions. Guys, Margaret Thatcher did not need stuff like this. Women who were like good politicians have never needed stuff like this. And the thing is that the organization just celebrates women in politics, whether they're good at the job or not. So you'll have them celebrating like Chrystia Freeland's the first woman to be finance minister. Who cares? She's bad at the job.
And that is just going to continue unless we actually try to change things. So I fundamentally believe if you don't change things, you're going to have the same system. And the same system is going to benefit those that were already in power.
And how does he define change and the current system? It's too many white men and we need fewer people who are white men, which is insane.
You have to fundamentally do things to change it. And that's what Equal Voice is about. Saying we got to change the way things are if we want different results. If you want different outcomes, you can't just hope they're going to happen. You got to make them happen. And that's with policies. That's by putting in place real clear strategies. And so I want to thank you for the work you do.
Well, thanks for you for True North for clipping that, but I'm going to put us back into the meat grinder because I want to see one more clip of Justin Trudeau, which I found very funny. I was looking at this before the show because I think I love whenever Trudeau starts kind of pimping out all the diversity in his government at a time when everyone thinks the government sucks. If anything, if he truly cares about his DEI agenda, he should actually be underplaying how many women are in the government because he constantly talks about how many women, people from minority backgrounds there are. I'm like, guys, your government has a very low approval rating. Why would you advertise that there's lots of women and people from the minority community involved in this? But here was Justin Trudeau's speech at this event, other than the Kamala Harris clip that we already played.
Les absents ont toujours tort. Pierre Poilievre, tu as tort de ne pas être ici ce soir. Equal Voice was founded 23 years ago with a straightforward mission: get more women elected across Canada. That's a mission that we share. It's why we funded as a government Daughters of the Vote and the Modernizing Legislatures Project. It's why I've touted the adage, add women, change politics, which to us is more than just words.
Oh my goodness. Well, I wish it was just words because every time he tries to put his words into actions, things like get set on fire.
We've taken action to make it a reality, appointing the first female finance minister.
How has she been? How has the Canadian economy been? How has our budget been? Like, why would you say this? And he's saying this like the day after he also forced her to like blow out the deficit by more than like 40 billion or something like that in order to pay for the $250 check handouts. Oh my goodness.
Under Stephen Harper, 32% of judges appointed were women, 56% under this government.
By his definition, is that now too much because it's more than half?
Under the new Senate appointment process, that chamber is now majority women, as is the Supreme Court. And of course, the first thing I did as...
I feel like normal women, when I say normal, I mean like people who are not politically partisan and part of something like Equal Voice. Do normal women see that and think, Senate's majority women now it's all better? Or do people mostly find the Senate completely useless? Do people like the court system right now? Do they like the easy bail system we currently have? I'm not going to blame that on most of the new judges that Trudeau appointed being women. I'm going to blame it on the fact that they're all Marxists, that they don't believe in justice. That's the problem here. He's laundering ideology through women. Because again, Trudeau doesn't care if you're a woman or you're a minority if he disagrees with you. That's why he tossed out Jane Philpott and Jody Wilson-Raybould, because they weren't playing his game. They were not ideologically on side with the liberals, and we're going to let them get away with corruption. So this is why it's all so hypocritical. Who cares about the numbers? I don't mind if you start appointing aliens if they're going to start doing the right thing.
Prime Minister was appointed the first gender-balanced cabinet in Canadian history, and under my leadership, that'll always be the case.
For another 10 months.
It's not just in federal politics. Elsewhere across the country, your hard work and advocacy has made important progress as well. This year, British Columbia elected the first ever provincial legislature where a majority of members are women. But of course, as important as representation is, it's also a means to an end, not just an end in itself. Representation matters because when women are properly represented in our politics, better choices are made for women and for the country as a whole.
What he means there, and I think we can cut it off there, he means left-wing choices. And he did just give away the game there. It's not an end in of itself to have more women around, because isn't it nice to have more women being able to get into office? Women could always get into office. That was never a problem. The problem is they are now artificially trying to make it so that more women get into office than otherwise would have gotten in. And do you really ever see in politics that there's that strong of an anti-woman bias that people won't vote for a woman, they won't work for a woman? I really don't see it. The thing is that they are trying to artificially push people into nominations in order to try and get to an end. And the end is not just the diversity. Diversity is not an end to the left. The diversity is just a cloak in order to push left-wing policy. It's how you get things like people calling, or leftists calling, Larry Elder, the black conservative radio show host in California, the black face of white supremacy when he dared to challenge Gavin Newsom in the recall election. See, that's what tends to happen. They don't consider like Leslyn Lewis a real black woman because she is not a woke leftist. That's a problem to the left. And that's what Justin Trudeau's articulating there, is that he's not just doing this because he thinks it's fair to have 50-50 because the population's 50-50 and that's equitable. He wants this to have the end of having a more left-wing big government, in which he's really, in a disgusting way, blaming women for his own failed agenda because he happened to self-select a bunch of women to carry out the plan when he could have probably found as many Marxist left-wing men to do the same thing. But for marketability's sake, he got a bunch of women involved for it, which is basically trying to scapegoat women for all the bad decision making. Anyways, that's pretty much it for me on this one today, guys. So hopefully I don't get blowback for being against the agenda of the equal voice or whatever. If someone starts a men's organization to try and get more men elected, I will also make fun of them. So I'm being equal in my mockery here. Anyways, so make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment, and if you guys want, you can always donate to the legal fund that I'm running. It's linked in the description below, as well as pinned at the top of the comment section. See you guys all later.